Hello and welcome to my America's Got Talent Season 21 Week 1 auditions recap and review. My name is Marsinger Homie, content creator and the host of Marsinger Homie's Recap and Review podcast, where I talk about TV, music, celebrities, and so much more. If this is your first time tuning into my podcast and you're listening on Spotify, please download the episode and follow the podcast so you don't miss anything when a new episode drops. And remember, you can always follow me on my social media platforms, which is my Instagram at MarsingerHomie and my YouTube channel, which is MarsingerHomie. All of it is available in the thumbnail of the podcast if you're listening on Spotify. So, folks, we are back for a brand new season of America's Got Talent. It is season 21. And let me tell you, what a premiere this was. It feels so good to be back doing AGT for you guys. It just feels amazing. And after Britain's Got Talent, which ended last week, it just feels so good to be back with AGT for season 21. And honestly, this was such a great premiere episode. As not only we had not one, not two, but we had three golden butters on last night, which is insane. Which just shows, I think, how high the talent is going to be this year. Which has honestly got me so excited for what this season has to offer. And honestly, there was some amazing acts on last night, and I think I found one of them which I think could potentially become the first act of this genre to potentially win. So which I'll talk about a little bit later on. But also, I don't know if you guys know by now, but I'm also now part of the AGT Time podcast crew. If you know AGT Time Pod, they are one of the best AGT podcast platforms out there. We've got Cody Patterson, AGT commenter. We got Jacob Edishard. He's got his own podcast as well. Jake's Takes. Jake's AGT Take. I think I cannot pronounce for some reason. I don't know what's going on with me today, but those two podcasts are absolutely brilliant, which I highly recommend checking out. But I am now part of the AGT Time Pod podcast team on their site. So where basically it's got their blog posts there, and I've been posting a bit on the blog posts there. So if you want, I can happily leave a link in the description down below to where you can check out my posts on the blog post for AGT Time Pod, because honestly, it's so cool to be part of that community. And it's one of the reasons why I got into AGT. It was because of AGT Time Pod for many reasons. So that's one of the main reasons why I got inspired into doing AGT, and all thanks to them. But without any further ado, let's get straight into the season premiere recap and review of America's Got Talent for season 21. So the first act of the night we had was a pretty interesting one, to say the least, which was Aggie, who is a interpretive dancer. He's originally from Nigeria, but he now lives in Milton Keynes. Good old Milton Keynes there. He's best known across all his different social media platforms for his viral videos, where he often offers very humorous tutorials on how to dance to unconventional sounds, which is very interesting. So as a matter of fact, his audition was he actually auditioned twice. Because he did his audition without any music, which got all four no's. But he was invited back to try again with music. So we're going to talk about this one here, with the one he did with music, if that makes sense. So his audition had for his audition, it had him doing interpretive dance routines to three different emotions, which was happy, which was set to Pharrell Williams. Of course, happy. Loneliness set to Celine Dion's All By Myself, and Hope set to What a Flash Dance Worth Feeling, which is a great song, by the way. Arena Cara, I think that's how you pronounce her name. And honestly, and unfortunately, he didn't go through to the next round. He got 2 yeses and 2 nos. And to be honest, I think the first time around, I was not at all sure what was going on. But the second time round, the second attempt, I actually understood it. So I actually would have said yes to him, honestly, because I think it was just so funny and so entertaining for so many reasons. But we'll go through some of the comments quickly. So Harry mentioned it was the first day, and he thought confusion. Sophia mentioned that she just sat at the desk. She wanted to ease into it, and she wasn't prepared for this. But Simon mentioned that he thinks people would probably turn the volume up thinking the music's quiet. Well, of course, he actually invited it. He got invited back, obviously. But Mel and Simon enjoyed it, but Howie and Sophia unfortunately didn't as much. So, but honestly, I can understand why maybe they didn't vote him through because I think um, maybe it's not that sort of like I guess element, interpretive dance. I mean, I will say it was a very interesting act to say the least. I found it quite entertaining. The way of doing this kind of interpretive dance thing. It was pretty interesting, if I'm honest. So, I would have personally voted yes. That's just my personal opinion. But unfortunately, he didn't go through. Unfortunately, which is a shame. But of course, very much credit goes to Aggie for auditioning this season, and I'm definitely excited to see what he brings across the social media platforms in the future. Now we go on to the first golden buzzer of three for this season, being Leigh Noel, who is Simon's golden buzzer. She's aged 14 years old, and she is from Texas. And for her audition, she sang "Die on This Hill" by Sienna Spiro, which I believe was the song that Crystal Herrera sang on the BGT semifinals, which at the time I had no idea what that song was at all because I'm very uneducated here. But Simon pressed the golden buzzer straight after the performance, and Sophia was quite annoyed because she was like, "I was going to press the golden buzzer," and even then, like she was like, "Should I press the golden buzzer?" And Simon was like, "Nah, no, no, don't do it." And then after that, that's where Simon had his opportunity to press the golden buzzer for her. And honestly, she so deserved it. She was absolutely incredible. I mean, her voice. I mean, for 14 years old, she has got one heck of a voice. So Simon mentioned that words weren't necessary, that's when she pressed the golden buzzer. He mentioned that he shut his eyes for a moment and was thinking it wasn't her singing, and she's got such a gift. And Sophia mentioned that he stole the golden buzzer from her, which was quite funny. But honestly, she was just absolutely incredible. And again, the fact she's only 14 years old just makes it even more insane. I mean, not only did I think she nailed the song, but I think that also the way she interpreted it, make the way she made it her own, and what I love most about her, because when she came on stage, she had this very sweet personality. She was like, "Oh hi, hello." And then the moment she started singing, it was like, it felt like a recording artist, like someone on the radio singing. It's just mental. But oh my goodness me, she was absolutely incredible. I think already for the singers this season, I think she's really at a high mark to potentially go a long way in the competition. And wow, honestly, she was just absolutely just incredible, and just again a very well deserved golden buzzer as well, because again she was just incredible, an amazing voice, and I cannot wait to what she does next in the live shows. Now, next up, we have a bit of danger here, being Tyrone and Margot, who so if you guys don't know already, who are a danger act, knife throwing, etc. And Tyrone was actually on the show before, part of the duo Blade to Blade with his brother. Was it his brother Michael? Was that his name? Yeah, his brother Michael. Yes, that's who he auditioned with. And as you guys probably know by now, I love danger acts on the show. I just think they are absolutely incredible. I've always found them so entertaining to watch, and oh my goodness me, this performance was just incredible. For their audition, they basically did. I've just got their thing here. Did like not well Tyrone basically did knife throwing with a board behind Margot. Then he got a crossbow out, and then he shooted it at a balloon which popped. Then afterwards she did the same to him with the thing. Then she did it with an apple. I'm just watching back the performance, so that's why I'm recapping this way. And then at the end, they had Tyrone basically throwing knives at a big, like a round board, as Margot was spinning around in a circle. And I think at one point he did miss it, one of the knives. But again, it just shows how difficult this sort of act is. And I was just absolutely blown away by them because this is exactly what a Danger Act should be: fast, entertaining, exciting, and honestly, it was just remarkable from start to finish. Simon mentioned that it was the speed that got him, and the fact it was so quick. It was really good. Sophia mentioned that Margot, she looked so sure what she was doing, and she would have never guessed she went through a traumatic experience because she mentioned that in one of she got an injury which had one of her eyes her eyes only has 30% of vision, which is insane. Um, and Mel mentioned that she was very terrified, and Howie mentioned that they've seen a lot of crossbow acts, and they showed it very differently. And he also mentioned that Margot could be some sort of like Marvel superhero character, which I was literally thinking the exact same as well. But honestly, I think these guys were just absolutely sensational. I think and again, the fact that she mentioned that she only has only 30 percentage of her vision in one of her eyes, it just makes it even more incredible. Because I mean, it's just absolutely insane, and just I can't even put into words how amazing this act was. I would love to see them in the live shows because I already know, but I think that I love seeing Danger Acts on the show. I just think they're always so entertaining, and they absolutely nailed that audition. It was just an absolutely brilliant act. I'm a huge fan of Danger Acts, and honestly, it was just an absolutely superb first audition, and I'm so excited to see what they do next because I just think they're absolutely fantastic. And now we go on to the two of the worst acts of the night, with the first one being Nolan Ross Palmer. And basically, his act had him eating hot dogs that were on fire, which Simon buzzed the act. And honestly, for the first time in a long time, I don't know what else to say other than what on earth was this act? Because this was basically a whole waste of time just seeing someone just putting like hot dogs and eating with fire. Like it didn't really make sense to me. So it was just I just don't know what to say to that other than it was just bizarre. It was absolutely bizarre to say the least. So, and now moving on to the second act that was kind of montaging away was Josh Sherman, who is a novelty instrument player, and he was basically playing the beat as a trumpet, which all the judges buzzed actually twice. They all buzzed twice because he did Pink Pony Club, I think, for the second time round, even though he got buzzed off. And honestly, again, these sort of acts I just think are just so random because to be honest, it just wasn't my cup of tea whatsoever, and I just think it was just an absolute that's what to say. It was just absolute. I can't even put into words how to describe an act like this. Like it's literally one of those indescribable acts that I can't even describe, even from my point of view. To be honest, it was just so random. I can't even put into words, to be honest. So that's all. That's all we have to say for Josh Sherman in my eyes. So let's move on to the second golden buzzer of the premiere, which was Acro Crew, who are a acrobatic group / dog act, where and basically the group was formed by Jennifer, from who was on, I think she was on what season was she on? She was on season 15. She was on season 15 with as an act, with her dog, and after over 35 years of passionate dog training, she wanted to challenge both herself and her dog's future heads, and that's where she, I think, put this group together called, and also before founding Pause for Fun, which is basically the management company behind the Acro Crew, basically, which is honestly so cool. And for their audition, they did an acrobatic dance routine, which they started off with just the girls on stage. Then they had all the dogs coming out doing all the tricks, and they did it to Fleetwood Mac's Everywhere, which is, I love me some Fleetwood Mac. I think it was a cover of the song. But let me tell you, I absolutely loved them. This brought the biggest smile to my face when watching them because, I've never seen a dog act, in a group, like a group dog act before. It's just, it was just absolutely infectious to watch. Sophia mentioned that it's like her two favorite acts of dancing and dog acts together, and Howie mentioned that they blew them away, and he loved everything about them. And that's when Terry came out from the side of the stage, and he mentioned that he had never seen anything like this in his life, and that's when he pressed the golden buzzer for them. And again, this was a very, very well deserved golden buzzer, because this was just a world class audition. I love the way that they started off like a normal like dance acrobatic group, but then when the dogs came out, it was taken to a whole new level, and I just loved everything about this performance. This audition. I just think it's such a unique dog act. Compared to what we've had over the years, I just think that they are easily going to be, I think, a force to be reckoned with. Especially for the variety this year. And I've actually contacted Jennifer, actually, who is part of the the group, the one who formed the group together, and she's actually really nice to talk to. I spoke to her a few times on Instagram to get, and she's just really nice. And she's even, I've actually even told her about my podcast, and she mentioned that she's always willing to give me tips when doing my podcast, which is so nice. And yeah, I think it's just really nice of Jennifer. So huge shout out to you, Jennifer. Thank you very much for saying that. But no, but back to this. I thought they were just fantastic, absolutely just superb before a superb first audition, and a well-deserved golden buzzer too. So that's 2 golden buzzers down. Well, we've got 3 in total. We've got 1 more to go, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. But in the meantime, let's talk about the next act, which was stand-up comedian Kev Adams, who is a stand-up comedian who is originally from France. And he's done a lot of stuff over the years. He's done, he's from France. He's done a lot of acting over the years. He's done, he's also a panelist on The Masked Singer France. In the French version of The Masked Singer, which is all pretty cool. But yeah, I think that a lot of stuff he's done. He's done the French dub of the Addams Family franchise. He's done Kev's World. He's done, what else he's done? He's done a lot of stuff. He's done Finding Dory. He's done a lot of like dubbing voices. In different movies, TV shows, they have like a dubbing. If that makes sense, like voiceover for the different language. But then he's done, he's done the Lorax. He's done, the day I saw your, the day I saw your heart. Just a lot of stuff, just to name a few on here on the week here. So for his performance, he did a stand-up comedy routine, basically about, he first mentioned about The Bodyguard with Kevin Costner, and then he talked about, being in America, how, kind of being like, a lot of stuff about, America, living in America, etc., how they like act, the currencies, etc. I can't like describe exactly what he did because I haven't got it all written down here, on the fandom. So I'm just trying to remember, kind of memorize what he did. But honestly, apart from that, put that to the side for a second. But I thought for me, he was just fantastic. Already we've got a stand-up comedian on here, and he was just fantastic. Harry mentioned that he is so bowled over by him, and what he just did. People don't seem to understand how hard it is to just talk, and he's brilliant. And he mentioned that he only started speaking English 4 years ago. Like prior to that, he spoke nothing in English. It was all French. So the fact he's from France, who's learned English doing this, I thought he was just absolutely it was just brilliant. It makes it even more incredible. Sophia mentioned that he doesn't know how hard it is to be funny in a language that is not yours, and I'm sure anyone can relate to, especially stand-up comedy. Had some water there quickly. Mel mentioned that he was just hot, crazy, cool, all that stuff. Very funny and very likable, very relatable. And Simon mentioned that apart from the fact that he's naturally funny, he's fearless with it, and his comedy was really, really funny. And I completely agree with what the judges here. Going into the season, I was really hoping for a good comedian, and he just he absolutely nailed it. I loved the material. Everything was just so like. Hang on, folks. So as I was saying about Kev Adams, I just think the fact him, everything from the material, from everything was just so well written. He's got this very infectious personality to him, and again, what makes him stand out is that the fact he English isn't necessarily his first language. It makes it even more impressive that that he did so well here. And at the end of his audition, after where the judges were talking, Howie mentioned that he's one of the best comedians the show's ever had, and even asked and even Mel said, well, he didn't need a golden buzzer because he's too good. And then that's when Howie mentioned, oh, do you think he can go the whole way? And then she was like, oh yeah, for sure. And honestly, I think he has what it takes. I honestly think Kev has what it takes to potentially become the first comedian to finally win the show, because we've never had a comedian win AGT, which is something I've been wanting to see for so long. We've never had a stand-up comedian win AGT, which is something I've been wanting to have. So I honestly think he for sure has what it takes to hopefully break the mold out of that. And I just think that he is just he was just absolutely fantastic, and I definitely rooted for him to go a long way in the competition, and hopefully he makes it very far, because he is absolutely hilarious. Now we go on to the third and final golden buzzer of the night, which was for rapper Luke Teleno, who is from where's he from? I don't say where he's from actually. I can't remember. But he's but a little fun fact: he's actually friends with Jordan Blue, who was on last year, who made it all the way to the final and got third place. He mentioned in 2012 it says here that he had leukemia, and he met his idol Pitbull when he was busily visiting some stuff, and and around the time, basically, he's gone through quite a lot. Going through leukemia, he's been battling cancer, um, and he's a lot. He's gone through quite a lot. In his life, battling with health. Health issues. So the fact he's here now and going really strong is just amazing. It's a very inspiring story as well. So for his audition, he did his own rap song called "From Seat to Stage," which is basically a rap song about him now auditioning for AGT. As I think last year he made a video back to Simon saying that next year he was going to be on that stage and hopefully get that golden buzzer. And it turned out to be true in the end, because that's what he got. So Sophia mentioned that she mentioned that she loved it. It was amazing, and she's so glad that he came onto the stage. Mel mentioned that she liked it, and she loved that it was his original song, and he gave hearts, and it goes a long way. So I mentioned that he was getting excited, and very emotional, and Simon and Howie mentioned that he is the image of what he believes is authenticity. And he mentioned that last year he predicted something, and he had one question was, how did you know? That's when he pressed the golden buzzer for him. And again, I think this was a very, very well-deserved golden buzzer in my eyes as well, because, I think, for me, I've always had a huge appreciation for rap music. I love rap, and for him to see this guy get a golden buzzer was just fantastic. I mean, he just knocked it out of the park for me. Again, seeing what he's gone through throughout his life, and now just seeing where he is now, I just think is just fantastic. I love the song, and I love the little bit of comedy he added with the judges, the way he was kind of interacting with the judges. But also with that, I could feel his emotion. I can feel his passion. I just think that he really displayed it in such a great way, and honestly, just seeing this guy's dreams coming true is just amazing, and I'm so happy for him, because this is a moment that he deserves. He deserves to be on AGT. He deserves to be on that stage. And honestly, I think all the golden buzzers I'm rooting for already, but he's the one I want to make it all the way the most. I really want to see him get to that, to hopefully be a finalist, because I just think he's just a really inspirational person. I think he's got a lot of he's just got this aura to him, which I just think is so endearing. and just like I just again, I just think he's just really like genuine. He's what he does is from the heart, and honestly, I think he has what it takes to potentially go the whole way. I just think he's so talented, a well deserved golden buzzer, and I honestly cannot wait to see what he does next in the live shows. Next up, we had probably the most unique act I think we've ever seen on on a premiere. I think one of the most like fascinating acts as well, and that is Unitary, who is a robotic dance group from China, and basically it's independently developed. The motors, the reducers, the controllers, everything is produced by people. And the dancer Yufi Wu was recruited to dance alongside the company, and he's from China as well. And he's also known being under the name Flying Bug, which is a pretty cool name for Monsieur. So for this audition, it had we had the main guy in the middle with the other robots around him, and they did like a dance routine to Lady Gaga's Abracadabra. And honestly, I was so impressed with this performance. I loved the way that he did the choreography, and then at one point the robot did a flip, which I was like, "Oh my god, they did a flip!" Like that was so cool. And honestly, they were just I don't want to say other than it was just amazing. Simon mentioned that they didn't look human, but they were staring at him. Sophia mentioned that she's never seen anything like it, and Mel mentioned that she found it absolutely fascinating, a bit freaky, but it was all perfect. And I totally agree with what the judges said here because I just think again it was just this was such a brilliant performance. I loved it because not only does the guy is a great dancer, but the way that the people managed to put this together, the whole robots, the technology to be that in sync, it's just mesmerizing. And again, the amount of work must have been insane to put out with, just because I think, I couldn't imagine doing something like that. But it just shows how much like hard work and dedication that they did because it surely paid off. I mean, this was an absolutely insanely good audition. I thought they were just amazing, and that I would have I think deserved a golden buzzer. I mean, to do an act like that with that uniqueness, I think deserves a golden buzzer in my eyes. So I was a bit shocked that they didn't get one because I think they would have been my retrospective golden buzzer of the episode of the premiere night. So because this was just so it was just so brilliant, and I thought they were just absolutely this is an act I could definitely see going a long way in the competition, and I really hope that we don't get like another like Boston Dynamics situation where it goes all tumbling down because this audition was just fantastic, and I'm really hoping that they go far in the competition. And finally, the last act of the night for the premiere is the Community ATL Choir, who are from Atlanta, Georgia, and this choir was formed by Deanna Dixon, who went viral for her dash cam singing videos in her old vocation as an Uber driver, and then that's when she got into making the choir here. And so for their performance, it had them doing "Lovely Day" by Bill Withers. I love that song; it's a great song. And then at one point, members of the choir were actually in the audience and then started to come up on the stage, which was so unexpected. I was not expecting myself, but it made it even more surprising. The fact it kind of reminded me of the Big Sing a little bit from 2023 at BGT. It was just again, it was just really good, and it was so unexpected, but at the same time, they were absolutely fantastic. Mel mentioned that OMG Wowza. It was just everything for her: the harmonies, the vibe, the swag. Harry mentioned that it makes you smile. Sophia mentioned that it was the perfect audition, and Simon mentioned that they are one of the best choirs they've had in years, and they're prepared. The choreography was amazing. The vocal arrangements were fantastic, and the mood was great. And they did the right thing to give us something that made them feel great. And I couldn't agree any more with the judges here because I love seeing a choir on the show. I think they're great. I personally love seeing choirs on the show, and they crushed it. Not only a brilliant song choice. Bill Withers is definitely literally one of my favorite singers of all time, but the harmonies of each member just blended so well together, and just seeing all the other members of the choir being in the audience, literally then joining up on the stage. Honestly, it was just fantastic. And again, everything about this audition was so unexpected, yet it was absolutely fantastic. I love seeing choirs on the show. I definitely would love to see what they do next, because I think they've got a lot of potential to go along with the competition. And hang on, folks, give me a second. Sorry about that, but folks, I just had to do something quickly. I just had to do something quickly. But we're now back. Just gonna quickly finish off here about the ATL choir. Again, overall, I thought they were absolutely brilliant. I love the song, love the arrangement, and I really am interested to see how far they go in the competition, because I think they do have a lot of potential. So it's that time of this season again, where I'm gonna be showing you my AGT season 20 draft. So here I have it. I have it in different categories here. I have the finalist category, semi-finalist category, quarterfinals category, and deliberations category. So for the finalist category, I have two of the golden buzzers being Lay and Luke, because I think I think they seem like the typical golden buzzer that would definitely be finalist in my eyes, and I think they definitely could as well. But also we had Kev Adams, who I thought was just absolutely just fantastic as well. I think he definitely has what it takes to potentially be the first community to ever win AGT, which would just be fantastic. Then we have Acro Crew, who I also could see being potential finalists at the end of the day, and then Unitary, who I also hope to be making it far, because I think the whole robot theme is just so cool. Then for the quarterfinals, I have the ATL Choir and Tyrone and Margot. So here I have, so basically for the deliberations, I have no one getting cut in the deliberations, because I think this opening episode was just so good. There's so much good talent there, and honestly, I think this just shows how high the talent's going to be this season, and I honestly cannot wait to see how it plays out. So there you have it. That is my review for the premiere of AGT season 21. Honestly, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What you thought of the premiere night. Also, how did you feel about having 3 golden buzzers on? I thought it was pretty cool, to be honest, to have, and it just shows how high the talent is going to be this year, which is so exciting. But it was a brilliant premiere night. I loved it, and I cannot wait to see how the rest of the season plays out. But that's all for me. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed, please remember to follow me on my platforms and the podcast, and to like and download the episode, like always. But once again, thank you so much for listening to my AGT Season 21 Auditions Week 1 recap and review. And of course, I'll see you guys next time.